And we are live and ready, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Heidi. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is a meeting of the regular meeting of the Seldovia City Council, Monday, May 21st, 6 p.m. And we'll go ahead and do roll call. Peyton?
Here.
Nathan?
Here.
Sweat?
Here.
Colberg?
Here.
Okay, we have Morrison excused and Rojas excused, and we do have a quorum, as Heidi said. If you would all stand and join in the Pledge of Allegiance, that would be great. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
United States of America.
and to the republic
To the republic for which it stands,
and
one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, liberty and justice
all.
for all.
Okay, thank you. As we said, excused absences, Morrison, Rojas. Item D, agenda approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the agenda by Mr. Colberg, second by Mr. Nathan. All those in favor, Peyton?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
Sweat?
Aye.
Colberg?
Aye.
Agenda is passed. Item E, consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are approved with a single motion, no discussion, and one vote. A council member may request to remove any item for discussion and a separate vote. Tonight, we have items 1, approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of May 10th, 2021. And item 2, ordinance introduction, which is ordinance 21-13, an ordinance of the city of Seldovia, Alaska, amending section 2.52.025 hours of work. Does any member at this time wish to remove either of those and have a separate discussion on those items? Okay, hearing none, I will look for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Make a
Make a
motion
mo-
to.
Go ahead, Bobby.
John. Oh, make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sweat to approve tonight's consent agenda. We have a second by Mr. Colberg. All those in favor, Peyton?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
Sweat?
Aye.
Colberg?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. That was the consent agenda. Item F, mayoral proclamations. Tonight we have none. Item G, public presentation prior notice. Each presenter has up to 10 minutes. Heidi, we're going to stay with the way it's currently listed here with Willie Dunn going first?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. And tonight's first speaker is Willie Dunn, our Kenai Peninsula Borough Assembly Rep.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for having me here and city council members. For those of you I haven't met before, my name is Willie Dunn. I'm the District 9 member of the Kenai Peninsula Borough Assembly. And I'm nearing the end of my second term. I'll be terming out this fall. So it's been a real pleasure over the past 6 years to visit periodically. I spent a lot of time in Seldovia over the years. My wife, Janice, and I come here pretty often on our own anyway, but it's also a pleasure to be here to give you a borough update. So I'll do that right now. So as many of you are aware, one of the functions that the borough works closely with the city is the Sea Otter Community Center and the Seldovia Recreation Service Area Board. We had a budget update from the manager out there, Lisa Stanish, and the president of the board, Mark Janes, gave us their budget update a week ago at our assembly meeting. And I think, well, you're probably all aware how COVID affected the Seattle Community Center last year, but they've got lots of plans for moving forward. And I think the board and the director there are doing a really good job for the community. So I expect that to be fully funded. Don't expect any changes to the borough or to the budget proposal that they submitted. As far as education and the budget, that's what we're dealing with right now. We're right in the midst of our budget deliberations, and we'll be passing a budget here at our next meeting. One of the big chunks of our budget is education. So K-12 education, which includes, of course, Susan B. English School. Right now, the borough, it looks like we'll be funding at a level of a local contribution level of about $48 million, which is actually less than last year and less than the cap. There's a kind of a complicated formula for spending that the state imposes on the boroughs and how they fund their schools. And there's a minimum and a maximum. Right now, for this budget year, the maximum would be $53 million. And over the past 10 or 15 years, we've funded really close to the cap, if not at the cap, which I think has displayed good results over the borough overall. But this year, for a number of factors, we're going to be funding them less at a level of $48 million. But it's still a level that the schools can get by with. And you may have heard that the schools will be receiving some federal money, congressionally appropriated federal money that will help make up that difference. So I'm pretty confident we'll be able to provide 48 million and that the schools will be able to function well with that. As far as higher education, the borough also partially funds the Kenai Peninsula College. And that's a funding that was requested by the voters. Quite a few years ago, there was a voter initiative that asked the borough to fund the Kenai Peninsula College at a mill rate of equivalent of a 0.1 mill rate. And so this year that works out to about $852,000. And we'll very likely be funding at that level. And I support funding at that level for the college. The borough funding is used for veterans, coordination with veterans. They have a specialist that works with military veterans to get them through the courses at Kenai Peninsula College, the Jumpstart programs, where high school students can take college level programs and give them a jump on their college, as well as adult basic education and some of the counseling. So I'm very supportive of that funding, and I'll be supporting that. And then the other thing that the borough funds that
Whoop, we lost him there. Heidi, did you guys lose him as well?
I did.
I did.
Yeah, I think the council chambers is froze. Yeah, Heidi, can you hear me? Yep, council chambers is froze.
Oh, I love this.
Oh, yeah. Okay, it looks like they just logged off here. Let's see what happens.
established last fall. And it's going really strong. And Hig Higman from Seldovia is the vice chair of that commission. He's doing a great job. They're looking at ways to improve efficiencies with our solid waste collection and reduce the waste stream going into our landfills, to save money, and to provide benefits to the environment, and hopefully increase recycling. They're looking at agricultural policies and having the borough get more involved in promoting local agriculture. And then HIG is actually chairing a subcommittee that's looking at building efficiency, energy efficiencies, to do a kind of a survey of all borough buildings, including our schools, and see how we can upgrade the energy efficiencies with LED lighting, or supported with alternative energy systems, but to basically save money over time. So that's some of the things that the Resilience Security Advisory Commission is up to. And then lastly, I wanted to mention, I don't know if you've heard or worked with the Kenai Peninsula Tourism Marketing Council over the years, but that was a nonprofit group that the borough had funded for many years. Last year, the funding was cut, and this year they're not necessarily proposed for funding, but the mayor of the borough, Mayor Pierce, has wanted to kind of restructure the funding of tourism marketing. And so right now that's being proposed, and it's being phased in, but only marketing to borough communities outside of cities. So it kind of leaves, Seldovia and Seward and Homer and Kenai and Soldotna kind of unpromoted. So if the city of Seldovia, and I'll be talking with Rachel about this at some point, but if the city is interested in trying to be part of this tourism promotion, our Assemblyman Tyson Cox is working on an amendment to our budget that would try and get the Kenai Peninsula Tourism Marketing Council back into the fold, and promoting tourism in the cities too. So, but that's no details on that yet. That's just a proposal right now. So I told Assemblymember Cox that I would bring it to the city council here, so you guys were aware of that. Give you a heads up. But that's pretty much all I have, and very happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Willie. Appreciate that. Any questions, comments from council?
I just have a comment.
Yep, go ahead, Bobby.
I just want to thank Willie for coming and joining us occasionally, and giving us updates on what's happening. So thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Thank you, Willie.
Mayor, I have a couple questions for our Assembly member.
Yep, go ahead.
Hi, Assembly Member Dunn. Nice to meet you in person. I know we've spoken on the phone, and now we don't have masks, so I can actually see your face, which is really nice. A couple questions for you. When the state of Alaska was distributing the coronavirus relief funds and they came to the borough then did a pass-through grant to cities within the borough. And so I was wondering if you could touch on the borough's intention of possibly doing that with the American Rescue Plan funds. So that's my first question. And then my second was, I was hoping you could speak on the borough's upcoming budget and how sustainable it looks if the borough's in a good financial position for FY22.
Great, thanks for the question. As far as the first question about the America Rescue Plan, the borough is scheduled to receive about 11.3 million. And I have not seen any details. I've been asking our grants manager for details, and we don't have much in the way of details other than that big number. But the one thing I did notice in one of her reports was that that did not include funds that would go to cities. So I don't have a good answer for you right now, but I will let you know as soon as I find out. But I'm under the impression that there will be a separate pathway for money to the cities. And this America Rescue Plan, like I said, I don't have much details on it, but the CARES Act, actually the money, a big lump sum went to the state, and then the state divvied it out to the boroughs, and then the boroughs divvied it out to the cities. So this seems like it's going to be a different pathway. And I wish I had more information, but I don't right now, but I'll let you know as soon as I do. As far as the sustainability of the upcoming budget, the borough has been in, I don't want to say dire straits, but struggling with having a sustainable budget the past few years because of many things. Our sales tax revenue is way down. I know that affected you guys here quite a bit too. And the funding that we received through the CARES Act last year did not provide for any lost revenue. So the only place where we were able to use some of that CARES funding in the borough budget was for emergency services, for salaries for the borough emergency services. Our emergency service areas like Ketchmack and Anchor Point and Central. So that helped us a little bit, but not a whole lot. It was mainly funneled into grants for businesses and rent relief and mortgage relief and a variety of other programs to support the local economy, but not the borough budget per se. So this year, I was pleasantly surprised that we're looking a little bit better than things had been predicted. We had been prepared for an overall reduction for FY22 of roughly 12% in our sales tax revenues, but it looks like it's going to be much better than that. In fact, it might be getting close back to normal again for sales tax. Those are just the predictions. And our finance director is very conservative, which I appreciate. So she gives us kind of the worst case scenario, and we prepare for the worst. And then if things are better, then we're happy that that the revenue picture is a little bit better. But we were very fortunate to have a good fund balance, and but that fund balance has decreased the past couple of years. I'm going to look here real quickly, see if I can find. Yeah, so we started out fiscal year with 2019 with a fund balance of almost $27 million. And over the past 2 years, that's gone down to $15 million. And this year we're predicting to go down to $11 million. So we've been able to buffer our budget by dipping into our fund balance. And that's what it's there for. It's to provide funds when our revenue streams are down. And then if everything goes as planned, that fund balance will build up in fiscal year 25 back to $15 million, which is our policy is to keep it above $15 million. So we've dipped down below that, and we're hoping to build it back up. And we're looking at, some optimistic recovery numbers. And then with the American Rescue Plan, with the funds that we'll be getting over a period of 2 years, we think we'll be able to build it back up.
Mayor, if I may make a follow-up comment.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great to hear. The city of Soldovia has, we've just uncovered our fund balance. It hasn't been presented in budgets in the previous city's history. And so we just went through a 10-year analysis, at least for our general fund with the fund balance, and our fund balance has decreased significantly. And I don't know if the borough has a reserve policy set for what your fund balance needs to be. But the city of Soldovia is operating, at least for the general fund, on a $154,000 fund balance. And we're pulling from our savings, our Soldovia Permanent Fund, for the FY22 proposed budget. So I just wanted to get a temperature check on the borough's standing, because a little over 4 mils of our property tax goes towards the borough. And I just wasn't sure, because we're considering the mill rate tonight, if there was the possibility of a property tax increase.
That's a good question. I was coming into this fiscal year budget process thinking that we might have to, but everything that I see indicates we'll be able to keep the mill rate steady this year. There will be no increase in borough mill rate. So the plan is to be able to rebuild that budget without increasing the general fund mill rate. Of course, there's the recreation area, and in the city, you're not part of the hospital service area, so that's not included. So no increases in mill rates this year. As far as the fund balance policy, I'd be happy to. I have. I'll have to dig it out, but I have a spreadsheet from the finance director that shows how we've developed our fund balance policy over the years, and And I think it's a very conservative way of managing our fund balance. And I'd be happy to share that with you. And if you haven't talked with Brandy Harbaugh, our finance director yet, she's a great resource, although she's pretty busy at this time of year. So
Yes.
maybe next month it might be a better time to meet with her.
She's made generous offerings of her time, and I've gotten to speak with her, and it's something that I'm hoping that Seldovia City Council can work on for the financial resiliency of our city, because the assessment roll for our property taxes has decreased by over $1 million. It went down by 1.3 million, which is a direct loss of over $10,000 of property tax revenue. And so if Seldovia City Council keeps the mill rate at 7.5, that's a significant amount. It may not seem so significant for the borough, but for the city of Seldovia to lose over $10,000 if we don't increase our mill rate is a substantial loss.
Absolutely.
And so I'm glad to hear at least that thinking through the borough, the mill rate will remain the same, so that if council tonight considers increasing the mill rate, the residents won't be hit by both the borough and the city.
Right.
Thank you so much.
You bet.
Thank you, Mayor.
You bet. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Dunn? All right. Well, Willie, thank you. I appreciate you. Appreciate your attendance tonight. And then, as always, every time you give a report, gives us a little more insight to what's going on. Yeah, we're not the only ones having fiscal problems. We realize that. So you paint a little bigger picture, and it's pretty clear you guys are having to draw down into your reserves as well. So again, appreciate all the information. I'm sure we'll see you again before the fall elections here. So, but if for some odd reason we don't run into you, and we obviously appreciate all your years of service and what you've done for us over here on this side. So thanks for your
Mayor.
report this evening, and we'll look forward to hopefully talk to you again here before the fall elections. All right, looks like next speaker is online with us, and that's going to be Heather Cavanaugh from Alaska Communication Systems.
Hi, thanks for having me, and appreciate the opportunity to talk with you guys tonight. I have a couple slides I'm going to see if I can share. It says I cannot share my screen, which is fine. You don't need to see them.
Yes, you should be able to share now. Sorry, Ms. Cavanaugh.
Either way is totally fine, but let me see if this will work for us. Okay, are you guys seeing the?
Yep, looks good.
Okay, great. So I serve as Director of External Affairs and Corporate Communication, and I wanted to share a couple highlights with you tonight. So I'm just going to quickly talk about our high-speed internet, the most recent improvements that we've made in Seldovia, the battery backup upgrade that we made, what we're doing to support people through COVID-19, and then our youth scholarship program, which launched earlier this month. So in 2019, we upgraded speeds in Seldovia to 15 megs. And that was the last sort of upgrade for internet in the area. We also, at the same time, upgraded our battery backup system to really a state-of-the-art system. So hopefully when the power goes out, you're not experiencing landline outages. I know a few years back that had been a challenge, and so we definitely wanted to address that and upgraded the battery system. And we know COVID-19 has certainly been a struggle for a lot of people. And one thing that we're doing is participating in a federal program that provides a $75 per month subsidy for internet service. And it is a new program that launched in May. It's through the Federal Communications Commission. And you can go to this website here to learn more about it, to see if if people need it, if they qualify, and to apply. And then the last thing I just wanted to mention is that we offer a youth scholarship program every summer. It's for youth ages 6 to 18 who are just doing good work in their communities. They can win, 5 kids in Alaska can win a $1,500 scholarship each. And we're also donating $25 for every new internet connection to Boys and Girls Clubs Alaska. And we've done this for 11 years now. And I know we did have a kid from Soldovia win one of those scholarships a couple years ago. So that's all the updates I have for you. I'm happy to answer questions, to hear your feedback. So this is my contact information. I'll stop there and welcome your questions.
Thank you, Heather. Any questions, comments for Heather tonight?
Mayor, may I?
Yep, you bet.
Hi, Heather. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Something I just was curious if ACS was pursuing was the $1.3 billion in tribal broadband funding that resulted from the coronavirus relief package. I wasn't sure if ACS was trying to work with communities on possibly securing funding for that. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
It's a great question and a great opportunity for Alaska. We are definitely following the different kind of funding options that are out there. And right now, there is no funding available directly for broadband providers like us. So the funding is for tribes, it's for states, and so to the extent tribes or the state of Alaska or if communities are getting direct funding, if they want to work with us, we're happy to entertain any ideas. Our goal is to get high-speed internet to as many places as possible and then also continue to upgrade speeds. And so if anybody in Soldovia is interested in talking about what that could look like, we're happy to have those conversations. So I think the best next step would be to reach out to me and we can get the right folks in the room to talk about what the options are.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Any other questions for Heather tonight?
I guess I have one after all.
Yep, go ahead.
I don't know how else to say this, but how come our internet is so terrible?
When you say first of all, I apologize if you have Alaska Communications Internet and it's terrible. That's not the experience that we want you to have. And when you say that it's terrible, what do you mean? Is it, what are you experiencing?
Well, like when I try to load for instance, when I try to load my packet for city council, I cannot do it at my house. Absolutely not. I have to come either to the library or go down to the city building and load my packet.
Okay. So do you know
it cuts
at your house?
You know, at home during the day. I can't have both things on at once. Like I have Hulu. I can't have my TV on and try to be on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
It's just things like that.
Do you know what speed that you have at home?
Well, supposedly I have what everybody else has, I guess. I thought I did.
It would be great to check and to see what speed you have. So with either 10 or 15 megs, you should be able to do all those things really easily. You should be able to have 2 people streaming. So what I would suggest is check to see what your speed is that you have today. And if it's not the 10 or 15 megs, I would make sure call us to see if you can get that speed. Typically, we don't charge you to upgrade your speed. We'll give you the fastest speed we can get to your home for the same flat rate that it's $89.99 a month for unlimited internet. I know,
and that's what I pay.
Okay, yeah. So I would call us to see if you can, to see what speed you have and to make sure you're getting the fastest. I do know that there are some areas that are difficult for us to reach. Are you sort of like further outside of town or?
I live right in town. I'm 1 block up the road.
So it seems like you should be able to get good internet service, at least at the 10 or 15 meg speed. So I think the first thing, if anybody is having a problem with internet, the first thing I would do is just pick up the phone and call us. Or if you're able to do it, you can also go online and look at your account and just check your account to see what speed you have, or open your bill if you keep your paper bills, and kind of start there probably.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. You're welcome to email me or call me too, and I can help you with that.
Heather, I have a follow-up question for you on that. And then we own the hotel here, and I'm running into some similar issues with my internet. I mean, not able to even run our business at the moment. Super, super rough and super frustrating, but we've got a hold of ACS. And one thing is, I mean, how long does the hardware, typically those a little modem route, the combination modem routers, I mean, I think I've got the original one that's 7 or 8 years old, and I mean, obviously he said, yeah, well, we've got new technology. And so they sent us a new one, but then I've got a network set up, in behind mine to separate it out for security and stuff. So I have to use it in bridge mode. So, which is a little more complicated than a residential service. But I mean, is there a typical time when you should be calling, or do you guys ever do any public outreach to let folks know, hey, if you're experiencing problems, you might want to see what you've got for hardware to see about upgrading? Or
yeah, again, I think the best thing to do is to call us and just say, hey, this is the problem I'm having, what do we do about it? And a lot of times, we can troubleshoot over the phone. We have really talented technicians who can walk you through what to check, and they can figure out like, hey, I think you might need a new modem. They'll ask you, when was the last time you replaced it? And so I think our IT folks can walk you through all of that. Have you already done that with them?
Yeah, we just got the new one in the mail. We haven't hooked it up because now I have to get my internet guy. I got to get everything coordinated before. It's not as simple as plug and play, or nothing will work until the back end of it can get rerouted as well. So
yeah, but I think definitely contact us. For anybody in the community who is having any kind of an internet, problem. I'll tell you personally, what I always do is I unplug my modem, wait for a few minutes, and plug it back in, because sometimes that will fix it. Then you don't have to go through calling anybody. And if that doesn't work, then call us. And check in, and we can help you with it. We want you to have a good experience. So
usually our power outages over here automatically help us with that. So.
Oh, right. Yeah. Have you noticed an improvement? I don't know if, hopefully your landlines shouldn't go out. They should be really solid, and hopefully you guys aren't having any problems.
Yeah, I think as many outages and problems as we had last year, we had some issues with HEA, obviously, and I think we've had some real anomalies here with, we had at one point, we didn't have, everything was out for a couple of days. We had issues with landlines, internet. I mean, I think the outage was so long, we had batteries died. And I know you guys went through your upgrade, and things are improving. It's just we had a pretty rough last couple of years, but I think we're on the uphill side of everything now that we've started screaming over here. So hopefully, we'll keep making progress. Just one last follow-up. Do you guys have any more, or is there any additional upgrades past the 15 meg without, running fiber or anything, or is that about where we're at?
That's a good question. I'll check with our engineers to find out if we can get faster speeds over to Seldovia with the microwave connection that you have, or if it's going to take fiber. So I'm happy to follow up on that. It's a good question.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, because what I'm hearing is it sounds like you all are probably needing faster speeds, and even more on the upload side, so you can upload those documents and run your businesses. And so my guess is you're going to need to get up to 50 megs or higher soon.
Yeah, we have a lot of people that work remote in Seldovia. A lot of people that commute work remote, and so we're finding more and more folks are doing that. And obviously, so we always scream that it's in the evenings and stuff when it's not working. We're always blaming bandwidth, that every kid in town's on the internet watching movies. And so the rest of us have to suffer. But so I think hopefully we'll see some more improvement as time goes by here in the future. So,
yeah.
All right. Any other questions for Heather tonight?
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And I'm happy to come back anytime you guys are having challenges or you have questions for us. You have my contact information, and I'm happy to do this.
Okay. Thank you, Heather. We appreciate your presentation tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yep. Good night.
Thank you, Heather.
All right. There we go. All right. Well, that'll take us to item H, public presentation for items not on the agenda. Do we have anyone with a hand raised or signed up, Heidi?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have a Mr. Lathine.
Okay.
Hold one moment, please.
Good evening, and thank you for listening to me. I'm kind of a broken record on this. Red Mountain has been one of my projects that I wanted to see the road repaired into Red Mountain. And I don't know if the city really knows that it's eligible for money that comes from the Innovative Readiness Training Program from the Department of Defense. You can apply for repair of the road and get funds and coordinate the activity of getting that road back into operation. Just as a side note, Willie here and his wife were both married at Red Mountain. So I think it would be an improvement for the community to have that road back. Also in terms of tourism and activity and value of our community would be enhanced by having the Red Mountain Road. And I do have with me the application I'll give to Rachel for these funds. And I think the city really ought to dig in and go after it. So that's my 2 cents. And I also have given both Rachel and Jeremiah my Dropbox that has all my files and all the backup resolutions from the various communities of Homer and Soldotna, the Kenai Development Authority that was done several years ago. So there is support out there in the borough to get the road back and repaired. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris.
Mayor Campbell,
Yep, go ahead.
can I ask Chris a couple questions?
Yeah, you bet.
Well, first of all, does the city have any right to the Red Mountain Road? Isn't that Borough and SNA?
That's a state right of way, 60 foot all the way up
Yes.
to Red Mountain.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
And the SNA and SAT have both have resolutions of support in getting the road repaired.
right. So I feel like Tim Dillon, previous city manager, and Cassidy Cameron. So when Cassidy was city manager, they did some sort of public presentation up at the SOC regarding that development and repair of that road. And I don't know where that was going, if that's gone anywhere.
Well,
Have you reached out to?
No, it hasn't gone anywhere. I think it's really, at this point, it's up to the city to grab a hold of it and do something if you want to.
Right.
It's city's eligible, it can get the funds, the money to do it from DOD. So I think it's something that needs to be pursued by the city.
From DOT?
What's that?
From DOT? I mean, I think every DOT, that's what I was wondering. So I think everybody would be super excited to see that road come to fruition, but I just want to make sure that we go through the right channels to make it happen.
Well,
Yeah, I can interject here. I think,
application and what they do. I mean, they've done projects all over the state. Old Harbor got a new runway down on that island. They did a road for a couple, I think 8 miles of road. So it's eligible.
Hey Heidi, we can't hear Chris. Can he turn that? It's not sure if the mic or what happened there.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Yep. Any more questions?
Yeah, I think I just had a comment. I mean, I think from what Chris is saying and Harmony, the questions you're asking, we just need as a community to get a group re-engaged to spearhead this. I mean, I don't think it's going to fall on the shoulders of the city, you know, as a body. They don't have the time and resources, but I think we need, you know, they can certainly be a part of that. But I think we need to get a group of people re-energized and then, you know, take the information. I remember when they and I don't know if it was the same group as part of the Innovative Readiness Training Program when they came and did the presentation right there in council chambers here. It's already been 3-4 years ago, maybe 5 years already. But yeah, that's exactly what they were telling us. You know, you guys have got, if you want to do this, there are funds available. You have to go through the process, submit them. I've talked to Tim Dillon also as a sidebar on some, you know, some other funding opportunities for the Red Mountain Road. Yeah, it would be huge for our community and for, you know, tourism on the South Peninsula here. So
You need to have a lead agency where the city could be the lead agency to do this project. That doesn't mean the city has to do everything, but they need to have somebody that's going to be the center for, you know, moving forward.
Yep, agreed. Okay, any other questions or comments for Chris tonight?
I dub thee, Chris Lathine, king of the committee. Let's make Red Mountain happen.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
I think he's looking to retire from that position. So, okay, Chris, thank you. Appreciate you bringing that up. Heidi, anyone else tonight?
I'm not seeing any other hands, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, that'll take us down to item I, Committee and Advisory Board reports. I believe we do not have any, no last minute reports, Heidi.
None that I'm aware of, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, that'll take us down to item J, administrative reports. Item 1, the finance report. It was provided at the May 10th, 2021 meeting. The next report will be provided at the June 28th, 2021 regular meeting. And then we've got the chief of police packet or report, and that's on page 16 of your regular packet. And Clayne, if you want to just maybe give us a quick little summary, or that'd be perfect.
Mayor, if I may, we changed the format of staff reports, and Chief Hawkins is here if you'd like to ask questions, but we were going to have staff give quarterly updates to council, but still provide you written reports the second meeting of the month.
Okay, perfect. Okay, any questions or comments for the chief tonight? Okay, I'll just make a comment. Yeah, obviously it looks like from reading the report, things are starting to get busy here in Soldovia, and it really hasn't even started to get busy yet. A lot of people returning to town. Obviously the calls are starting to increase rather rapidly here. We haven't even really had any bear problems. So I know the chief's gonna probably start getting even busier. So it's been a long winter, but yeah, hopefully nothing serious this summer, just the normal stuff. But I anticipate it will start to get busy here as time goes on and more of tourists start to show up in town and stuff. So thank you for the report, Clayne. Appreciate that. And that'll take us to item 3, the Harbor Master's report. That's going to be on page 18.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep, go ahead, Heidi.
The harbor master, Miss Jant Peterson, asked me to include that she has completed the sign revitalization in town. So if you go by any of the parks, you'll see her signs out there polished and looking really nice for the community. I know that was in the last city manager's report, but she just wanted to include that she had completed that project and that the 2 new dog poop dispensers had been received and installed. So now there's 5 in town. If anybody needs to dispose of dog poop, there's one on the Gateway Pavilion, one at the bottom of the Harbor Masters ramp, one at Lollipop Park, one at Central Park by Crab Pot, and one at the RV park.
Good. Thank you for those additional notes, Heidi. Appreciate that. Yeah, that's good on the dog waste disposal units there. Any other, let's see, anyone else have any questions or comments on the Harbor Masters report?
I just have a quick question.
Yep.
So Heidi, where are the bags for those doggy things kept? You have to come to the city if they're empty, or does Layla have them?
Yes, just let the harbor master's office know and they'll refill them.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead.
I was just wondering where we were with the fire department restroom and shower addition. Is that something that we actually have funds for and that we are moving forward with?
Yeah, it looks like she's got it on the upcoming projects list. I know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, Heidi, if you have any updates on that at all, what the time frame is on that.
Mayor, if I may.
Yep, go ahead.
Councilmember Payton, we do not have any more COVID relief funds at this time to do the work. So if the city wanted to proceed with that, it would have to be through using general fund dollars or pulling from the Soldovia Permanent Fund or possibly considering the American Rescue Plan funds. So for now, the project should not proceed because we don't have funding set aside for it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Harmony. Thank you, Rachel, for answering that.
I
Any
have a
other
question.
questions or comments? Yep, go ahead.
I have a question. So, is it a possibility to use the fire EMS funds to complete that project?
Yes, you definitely could do that. I think the intent of the project originally was to use COVID funds for
Right.
it, but if council wanted, if there isn't budget set aside in the fire and EMS departments, council could reappropriate funds or take funds from the Soldovia Permanent Fund, AMLIP, to pay for it if there isn't budget available.
Do we have a quote on that? I can't remember.
Through the mayor, we do have a quote. I can't remember how much it was going to cost. That was months ago that I saw it. So we could look into that and get back to you.
Maybe that's something we could put on the next agenda to talk about, possibly. Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions, comments on the Harbor Masters report? Okay, and the last one is the Maintenance and Public Works report, and that is in the laydown, and I'm not sure.
If Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep, go ahead.
It did not make it into the laydown. I apologize, but I can provide it during next month's reports. We'll double down and provide 2.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, thank you, Heidi. It did not make it into tonight's laydown, so it'll be in next meeting's packet. Okay, that'll conclude item J on the administrative reports. That'll take us to item K, public hearings. The first one, item K1 tonight is ordinance 21-12A. This is a non-code ordinance of the city of Soldovia, Alaska, accepting FY 2022 fee schedule, appendix A of the FY 2022 budget. This will be found on page 20 of your regular packet, and we'll go ahead and have staff give us their presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. So the FY22 fee schedule was developed after a budget work session with council in which we reviewed major fees associated with city operations, including water and sewer utility fees, mortgage fees, and other harbor fees. And if you look at the FY22 fee schedule, all those proposed changes were made in bold underline. I asked council to go to page 40 of your packet because I would like council's consideration of an amendment to the proposed FY22 fee schedule, which would need a council sponsor. And the amendment for the FY22 fee schedule on page 40. The first one is the Gateway Pavilion. Since there was electricity brought to the site, it improved the city's offering of a public facility. And after discussing with staff the time spent administering the facility rental, it was recommended that the fee increase from $50 for 4 hours to $75 for 4 hours, and then to add a fee for a full day's rental at the Gateway Pavilion for $150. So that's the first amendment for the fee schedule. The second one is regarding the wastewater utility system. So our fee schedule had a water extension permit inspection cost, but we did not have something set up for sewer. And so we'd like to add and sewer to the extension permit. So that would include permit application fee, inspection, and reconnection charge. And then the same thing goes for line locate services. We in the fee schedule only had water line locate services, but even recently we had a constituent need to locate the sewer line on their property. And so where staff are proposing for council's consideration, amending the fee schedule to include water and sewer line locate service fees. And those amendments are in addition to the proposed changes to the FY22 fee schedule. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. All right, we'll go ahead and open it up for council discussion.
I think this is John, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, John.
Yeah, I think we've hashed this out fairly well. Looking at the changes, they make sense to me for the Gateway Pavilion, the water and sewer extension, and the sewer line locate changes. Those all make sense. So I think with the changes, it'll be fine. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that. Any other additional questions or comments on the fee schedule?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with John. I don't think these changes are out of whack. And I think they need to be done. So I would support this. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead, George.
I also would support the changes that we've already hashed as well.
Okay, thank you, George. Okay, anyone else? Okay, we'll go ahead and open it up for public presentation. If anyone from the public has any questions or comments on tonight's on the adoption of the fee schedule.
I'm not seeing any hands raised from the public at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, that'll bring it back to council, and it looks like we will need, looking for a couple motions. We'll need a motion to get it on the table, and then if anyone is interested in sponsoring the amendment, we will need a motion to amend to include the three suggested changes as found on page 40 of the regular packet. Oh, you're on mute, John.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 21-12
A. 21-12A.
Oh, 21-12A, sorry.
Okay, so we have a motion to adopt motion ordinance 21-12A. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and that motion is seconded by Harmony. Okay, any further discussion on the motion or any amendments to offer?
I'll make a amendment to 21-12A. The Gateway Pavilion changed from $50 to $75 for 4 hours, $150 full day. The water and sewer extension permit change from $39.47 inspection, $56.37, and reconnection charge of $56.37, and change the water and sewer line locate services, locate fee of $56.37 plus tax.
Okay, and just to clarify, yep, so that as John stated and also found on the amendment language found on page 40 of the regular packet. Do we have a second for the amendment?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to amend ordinance 21-12A. Any further discussion on the amendment? Okay, hearing no discussion, we'll go ahead and vote on the amendment. All those in favor, Peyton?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
Wet?
Aye.
Holberg?
Aye.
Okay, so the amendment passes 4-0. That'll take us back to the main motion, which is the adoption of ordinance 21-12A, now as amended. And any further discussion on the main motion?
I didn't, on the water and sewer line locate, I didn't say the locate during the non-business hours of 112.76, so.
Yeah, that was already that's already part of the original language. It was only be the bold, so the water and sewer. So I think we're covered.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So as long as your language was pretty close. As long as we incorporate what you stated and the language found here on page 40, I think we should be good to go.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, hearing no further discussion, back on the main motion as amended, we will go ahead and vote on the main motion, which is to adopt ordinance 21-12A as amended. All those in favor, Peyton?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
Wet?
Aye.
Holberg?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 4-0. Ordinance 21-12A as amended is passed, and that is the adoption of the FY 2022 fee schedule. That will take us to item K2, which is ordinance 21-12B, a non-code ordinance of the city of Seldovia, Alaska, appropriating funds, Appendix B, annual budget for fiscal year ending June 30, 2022. And this will be found on page 42 of your regular packet. And we'll go ahead and have the city manager go ahead and present.
Thank you, Mayor. So before council today is the second reading of the FY22 budget. The format has changed, but the numbers have not. And in addition to what you've seen prior, we've also included manager's message concerning the FY22 budget. And I'll just reiterate again to council that as currently presented, the FY22 budget does not reflect sustainable operations and management of city resources. Reductions in services while considering different revenue sources will be essential in order to get the city of Seldovia on a sustainable track. And so, as I've brought up to the mayor and council, we're going to be having many budget discussions and the review of essential services the city provides to our constituents so that we can work on making our operations sustainable, develop a reserve policy and actually set aside funds for major maintenance and repair. And also just make sure that we're serving not only the current generation of Soldovians, but also the future generation of Soldovians with sustainable city practices when it comes to managing our resources. And I encourage council to please read the budget message that was included in your packet. And it's kind of hard to see what page it is since the numbers are covered by the packet, but there is a section in the manager's message entitled City of Soldovia Considerations and Vulnerabilities. And as I was asking our Assembly Member Willie Dunn about this earlier, included as a vulnerability is the Kenai Peninsula Borough has the ability to impact the city and its citizens if there ever were to be an increase in property or sales tax on the borough's end. And there are also other vulnerabilities included in there for your consideration that I look forward to working with you on as we go through the coming months of amending the FY22 budget so that it can be on a more sustainable track. So it's a quick synopsis of the FY22 budget because we've had a couple work sessions and you've seen the material before. And now I'd like to direct council to the lay down packet because there is an amendment that we need to make to the FY22 budget. It's on page 3 of your lay down packet. And the amendment is a result of the SRSA's change of the contractual services line item of their budget. We need to amend the FY22 budget to correctly reflect the SRSA and SOX budget for contractual services because the city is responsible for managing staff, which the SRSA compensates the city for. And in addition to that, there's an admin fee that's provided to the city for the SOC. And so the amendment that's detailed on page 3, I believe, of your laydown just goes over how we would need to make the change to the ordinance for the FY22 budget to reflect the update to the SOC cost. And then one more topic associated with the FY22 budget for council's consideration is on page 5 of the laydown packet. I've provided to you how your priorities that you adopted for the calendar year 2021 budget are reflected in the budget document itself. And so, for example, your large top priority for calendar year 2021 was resurfacing roads and maintenance. And so essentially staff time is the biggest contributing factor to a lot of council's priorities in the FY22 budget. And so I just wanted to provide this to council so you could see how your priorities are coming into effect in the budget document itself. So those are my comments and I'm available for answering any questions council may have.
Thank you, Rachel. Yeah, that's quite the packet here. It's similar to previous packets and a lot of good updated information for council and myself to consider. So, all right, we'll go ahead and open it up for council discussion for any questions or comments to Rachel or just general comments, questions about the budget as presented. Okay, let's not all jump in at once now.
Okay, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, we've been over this and over the years, I've noticed that we get pretty close, but we're always gonna end up making amendments through the year. So to the budget for one reason or another, something always comes up. So, and I don't have the lay down with me here in Anchorage. So, I haven't been able to see that one, but I think I would agree with it, that it needs to be in there. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Any other questions, comments from council?
Well, I have a comment.
Yep, go ahead.
I guess the whole thing is just very daunting to me. I mean, at one time, I guess I thought we were doing okay, but then finding out we're really not. And just getting a little bit more familiar with the budget as time goes on. I mean, I guess we got a lot of work to do, and I don't know what the solutions are. I mean, you raise rates and you do this and that, and it doesn't seem to really go in the right direction very, very well. I don't know, you can only hit the members of the community with so much as far as raising rates. Yeah, I guess we'll just have to, I mean, we're running on a shoestring anyway with people that work for the city and all that. Like I said, it's just very daunting to me. And I guess we'll just have to keep working to try to fix it.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments?
Mayor, if I may respond to Councilmember Sweat.
Yep, go ahead.
In the ending of the manager's message concerning the budget, I tried to hit home the message that the city of Soldovia is resilient. We survived the 1964 Good Friday earthquake. And so we can do it, and it will be daunting and it will be very tough, and we'll have to make decisions that personally we're not very happy about. But it's for that's why you're an elected official, and that's why I'm here to serve and work alongside you. And so we'll do it together as a team to serve the city. And it's daunting in that, yes, it seems like an insurmountable amount of work, but we'll break it out into pieces and try to see how everything's connected. And just know that not only are you helping the current generation of Soldovians, but if we had done this work years ago, we would be in a better financial standing. And so we're going to be making the future for the city of Soldovia that much better and more sustainable. So don't lose faith.
Okay, then I will, the ball is in your park to help us with that. Okay.
Okay, I'll offer a comment too. Yeah, I've had a lot of discussions with Rachel about the budget and other council members as well on where we're at. Basically, we've been given the same information every year. This year it was presented a little different and quite clear, and obviously a lot more eye-opening. I think it's always been there. It's just been a matter of how it was presented and how the red flag was raised. And this year it's been raised, and there's been some eyes opened. And basically when we look at our reserve accounts and or what we thought were reserve accounts, and the amount of money that we've basically been in deficit spending for many, many years, all of our accounts are drawn down, and it's starting to get close to getting real concerned. Everyone should be real concerned on the current trajectory we are on. And I think that's what Rachel has tried to convey the most here. I agree. We're not going to panic over this, but we can't keep going on the same path, or we will eventually be bankrupt. Now, the state probably won't let us go bankrupt, but if we don't do something different to get a balanced budget and start building our reserves back up, then we're going to be in a bad place. So I think we're on the right path. We know we have to make some changes. We know we're going to have to amend this budget. I think we're going to have to look at everything we do and it's not just the revenue side, it's going to be on the expense side, the revenue side. And then more importantly, I think it's time that we have to start looking at our assets. What do we have that can make us money? We know there's a couple things. We have land, we have permanent fund, we have some options that we are going to need to look at. So it's going to take, throughout the rest of this year, it's going to take a series of meetings to talk about these things, bring some creative ideas to the table, and see what it's going to take to get this thing turned around. As I've said before, I mean, basically the formula for small town America, small town Alaska, you're basically doomed. You don't have a big enough economy to sustain basic services that we all like to have. I like to have my roads plowed. I like to know that if someone's getting hurt or there's an emergency, I can pick the phone up and I know either an ambulance is going to be there or a police officer is going to be there or a fireman's going to be there. I expect law and order in our community, and I expect certain basic services, from any community that I live in. And I think most of us are, unless you live truly off the grid, which, none of us in town are off the grid. So I think we all come to live and expect a certain level of services. Now, paying for those, that's where it gets tough. We have our property taxes. There's a lot of senior citizen property tax exemptions, which is great if you're a senior, but not so great if you're trying to balance a budget. We don't have enough businesses. We need more businesses to generate revenue, create more sales tax. It's just what you need. You have to have a thriving economy if you're gonna, provide basic services as a community. So I won't beat this up too long, but we'll get there. It's just going to take some time. It's going to take some community outreach, and it's going to take some creativity and some tough decisions going forward to get us back on track and in a good way. So that's my 2 cents. I appreciate all of the effort that the staff has taken to pull this information together, present it to us in a format that is, it's understandable, so that we can make decisions that need to be made. So that's all I've got. Any other questions, comments on the budget or for the city manager?
Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead, George.
just quickly, we've just survived certainly the worst financial disaster in all our lifetimes. I think this, probably the worst thing that's happened to this nation since the Great Depression. We've survived that and not in too terrible a shape. The economy is opening up. I think we're going to see a big increase in our sales tax revenue. Generally, a lot of people are showing up. It's still pretty early, and we're seeing quite a few people in town. I think the future is about as rosy as it can be as far as the basic system there that we can operate. We probably have a few reasons to be optimistic.
Yep, agreed, George. And I think Willie alluded to that as well. And from everything, we're in the tourism business ourselves, me and my wife, and from everyone that we talk to on the Homer side, Kenai Soldotna, Seward side, things are off the charts right now. I think folks are ready to travel, both Alaskans and non-Alaskans, despite the challenges that we're still getting from Canada. Obviously our congressional delegation is trying like heck to, figure that out. On the cruise ship side, the rubber tire traffic, Canada's got to shut down obviously until July, which is now, now we're seeing other spin-off effects in the state with shortage of rental cars, shortage of RVs. So, everyone's trying. And I think optimistically, like you're saying, I think we're going to be posed to have a good summer. And I would be real surprised if we are down at all by the time this is all said and done on sales tax. So I think that's going to be right back to where we were before. Maybe even optimistically, maybe even a little uptick. We'll see. So Still early, but things are looking good so far, I think, on the tourism front. So, okay, any other final questions, comments from council before we go to the public?
Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead, Harmony.
it's a pretty thick packet. I just like to say thanks to the staff for making this information accessible. I've said it, I think, at every meeting so far, but I feel like I can't say it enough how just how accessible the information is. It's so easy to take this information and give it to anybody who's talking to me on the street, and just they're going to understand it. You know, I'm not always the best at relaying, especially this type of information. It is daunting. There's a lot of things that are concerning, but I think that we have it in our grasp to make this a sustainable community for the long term with the savings account. So anyways, thank you for all the work that you guys do. I know it's a lot. I know it's daunting. We appreciate you. And yeah, just thanks for your format.
Okay, thank you, Harmony.
I got one more, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, John.
I kind of agree with George. I think we've bottomed out pretty much on the downhill slide, and I'm just hoping we can climb really fast and do really well. You know, get ahead of this again. Thank you.
Yep, agreed. Thanks, John. Okay, that'll take us into public presentation. Heidi, do we have any hands raised or anyone in the audience that wishes to comment on ordinance 21-12B?
I'm not seeing any hands raised at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. That will take us back to final action disposition for council, and it'll be real similar to what we just did. We'll be looking for a couple motions, one to adopt, and then looks like we will be looking for a motion to amend is also based on the couple changes that we need on page 3 of the laydown for this to bring the SRSA, all the SRSA numbers in line on the regular budget and then the actual amendments to this ordinance. So, all right, we'll go ahead and look for a motion to adopt the main ordinance.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 21-33.
Should be 21-12. You skipped one.
Oh, 21-12B. Sorry.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. That was ordinance 21-12B, correct? Not
Yes.
resolution.
Yeah, ordinance 21-12B.
Yep. So we have a motion to adopt ordinance 21-12B by Kohlberg. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 21-12B. And we will go ahead as, is there any further discussion on the motion or any amendments on the motion?
I'll make a motion
Okay,
to accept the amendment to FY22 City of Seldovia budget. The amendments, is it to the general fund overview? Do I need to say them all?
I think you can refer, if you want, you can refer to this document and I can summarize it up.
Okay, then there's amendment to general fund overview and the general fund amend. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm kind of lost. I guess I'm not sure what.
Okay, how about I'll help you out with the language here. So the amendment you have offered to amend 21-12B with the language is shown on page 3 of the laydown packet. There's 2 items. Item 1, amendments to general fund overview on pages 14 of FY 2022 budget. There are 4 expenditures on that. The FY 2022 SOC, which amends from 43,775 to 37,000. FY 2022, the admin GF expenditure going from amended amount from 136,427 to the new amount of 129,652. Third line item, FY 2022 total GF expenditures amend from 628,411 to new amount of 621,636. Fourth line item, FY 2022 total GF revenue amend 628,411 to 621,636. And then the second part, the second item of the amendment on that page is the amendments to this ordinance 21-12B. And actually, Heidi, point of order, we can do these all in, can we do all this in one amendment?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so continuing on, the second piece of that is the amendment to this ordinance 21-12B. 2 parts to that, FY 2022 general fund, amend from 628,411 to 621,636. And then the last line, FY 2022 total expenditures amend from 1,395,111 to $1,388,336. That is the amendment offered by Sweat. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have amendment to ordinance 21-12B as shown and read on page 3 of the laydown by Sweat. We have a second by Kohlberg. Any further discussion on the amendment before we vote?
Thank you.
Okay, that was kind of a tough one. Okay, hearing no further discussion, we'll go ahead and have a vote on the amendment. All those in favor, Peyton?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
Sweat?
Aye.
Kohlberg?
Aye.
Okay, motion to amend ordinance 21-12B passes 4-0. That will now take us back to the main motion, which is to adopt ordinance 21-12B as amended. Any further discussion on the motion, on the main motion? Okay, we'll go ahead and vote on ordinance 21-12B as amended. All those in favor, Peyton?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
Sweat?
Aye.
Kohlberg?
Aye.
Okay, main motion for ordinance 21-12B, which is Appendix B, our annual budget, is passed 4-0. And that was as amended. Okay, we'll do one more before we take a short break. This will be item K3, Resolution 21-33, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Soldovia establishing the mill rate for FY 2022. This will be found on page 143 of your packet, and we'll have a presentation by staff.
I'm gonna run in and get it.
Thank you, Mayor. So the City of Soldovia has to adopt a mill rate or set a mill rate prior to June 15th of each year per the Kenai Peninsula Borough. And so the resolution before you, 21-33, uses the mill rate that council set in FY 17. And that's a mill rate of 7.5 mils. And accompanying this resolution is a memorandum discussing the impact to the City of Soldovia by maintaining the 7.5 mill rate, given the Kenai Peninsula Borough has lowered the assessment roll for properties in city limits. That is decreasing our revenue by $10,494, which is a significant amount of revenue for our general fund in the form of property tax. And this is because, again, the assessment roll for applying the mill rate to has decreased, and that can occur for a variety of reasons at the borough level. And so as a result, our property tax revenue is decreasing, and property tax revenue is a significant source of funding for the general fund. It's responsible for sustaining services such as administration, city council, police, public works, fire, EMS, and our legal services with the city attorney. And in addition to the decrease in revenue as a result of the lowering of the assessment roll for property tax revenue, we're also in this budget pulling $20,098 from our permanent fund or our only savings account in order to balance the budget. And that's due to the unsustainable operations of the city. And so coupled with the fact that we're pulling from the Soldovia Permanent Fund, we now have an assessment roll that with 7.5 mill rate is decreasing the amount of revenue we receive from property tax. So I'm not advocating either direction, but I just want to make sure council is very clear of the consequence of maintaining the mill rate at the same level. And so when I spoke to the finance director at the Kenai Peninsula Borough, she gave me property tax revenue that would be generated if council increased the mill rate to 7.75. So that's increasing it by 0.25 mils, as well as increasing it by 0.5 mils. So if council increased it by 0.25 mils, you would make up the difference of the decrease in the property tax revenue. You would make a little over $10,000 as a result of increasing the mill rate by 0.25. And if you increased it by 0.5, you would generate enough revenue to not withdraw from the Soldovia Permanent Fund. And so that analysis is in the memo that's on page 144 that accompanies the resolution. And I just wanted to make sure council was made aware of the situation. Thank you, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate you preparing that information for council. That will go ahead and take us to council discussion. Any questions or comments on the current 7.5 mill rate and the accompanying information that the city manager just provided?
Mr. Mayor, I have a question for Rachel.
Yep, go ahead, George.
Rachel, can you be a little more specific about why the revenue has actually gone down? My taxes have increased, my property taxes have increased every year. Why is it that we're getting less of that?
Through the mayor, Council Member Nathan, we have our Assembly Member Willie Dunn, if he would like to speak on the variety of issues why property taxes fluctuate in terms of rates. It could be because, I mean, my impression is the assessment roll, which basically is the total value of all properties taxed within the city of Soldovia, has decreased by over 1.3 million. And I'm assuming that's because possibly there are more seniors that have exemption status. And so that decreases the amount of assessment roll that the borough assigns for the city of Soldovia. But perhaps Assemblymember Dunn could touch on that for us.
Thank you. City Council Member Nathan, through the mayor, there are a number of reasons why the overall assessment would be lower than previous years. As you said, you know, individual property taxes or property assessments might go up, but the biggest factor is most likely exemptions. And I can get that information. I don't have it in front of me, but overall through the borough from last fiscal year to this fiscal year, the total value of property increased, but apparently and our property tax revenue increased. But apparently in Seldovia, you didn't follow the trend of the borough here. And I doubt it's from lower property values. My best guess is that it's increased exemptions. And the big exemption is senior citizen exemption. So if more people applied for that senior citizen exemption, which in the Kenai Peninsula Borough is the first $350,000 value of property, zero taxes would be paid on that. So there could be a number of other factors. There's exemptions for Native Association properties, for government properties, but those tend to remain pretty steady. Those don't fluctuate. The big fluctuation would be in senior exemptions. So that's just my best guess, but I can talk to our assessing department and get some targeted figures on why the city of Seldovia overall assessment rolls decreased this year.
Thank you very much. And that has to be the answer. I was going to say my assessment, I can only look at my own information, has steadily increased since I bought this house. It's now assessed for quite a bit more than I paid for it. It's certainly not worth that. But I mean, I've gone up probably $100 a month from my payment has gone up based on the assessment increase, property tax. Anyway, thank you for answering that for me.
Sure, and just a quick follow-up, if I might. The Borough Assessing Department is on a 5-year rotation for on-site inspections. So the increases that you're experiencing are based on models that they use, computer models that look at property values as properties are sold. And when properties are sold in Seldovia, they get data from that. And as houses sell and properties sell, if the data shows the price is increasing, then they will increase all the surrounding property values. But then once every 5 years, they actually come here on foot and actually do a much more detailed study that's not just a computer model. So we experienced that in Homer 3 years ago, and our property tax values increased dramatically because they included a new factor in their computer model that incorporated a factor for view. So of course in Homer there's a lot of view properties, and people were quite upset, but it was based. It should be close to fair market value. That's our we need to follow the law, and our assessments have to be close to fair market value.
Well, thank you very much. I'm an old guy, so I do have the option of taking that exemption, and I certainly would not like to do that. I'd like to support my community, but may come a time when I have to.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Willie, for that explanation and shedding a little more light on that. Okay, any other questions, comments from council?
I have a comment and a question.
Yep, go ahead.
I'm one of those horrid people that takes the exemption, but I've only taken it the last couple of years. I paid it after I was 65 for many, many years. So that being said, what does a 0.25 increase relate or translate in dollars
Through the mayor?
to the property owners?
Councilmember Sweat. So if you go to page 144, you'll see that a 7.75 mill rate. So that's an increase of 0.25 mils from what the city of Seldovia currently has. That generates a little over $10,000, which would not 100% make up the change as a result of the decrease in the assessment roll, but it would fill in that hole, the majority of that hole, the deficit of 10,000.
Right, no, I've got that. I can see that. I mean, what does it do what does it translate in dollar? Like what would the property owners pay extra for that 0.25?
Through the mayor.
Depends on,
Yep, go ahead, Rachel.
So 1 mil is equal to 1/1000th of a dollar. And I'm trying to think, and maybe Assembly Member Dunn, you could help me with this because I usually have to write it out as a formula. But if it's a $100,000 house and you were increasing it by 0.25 mils, yeah, $25 difference. But that's 0.25 mils. So if it's a $100,000 house and it's 7.75, it would be whatever the 7.5 mils is plus $25. So if you think about all the properties that are within city limits, if you increase the mill rate by 0.25, you're generating a little over $10,000. So it's not a substantial amount that each property owner would pay. But of course, people who have higher valued properties that don't have a senior exemption, they pay, of course, more than people who have not as higher valued properties.
Can I ask a question? Might be a bit nitpicky.
Harmony, you'll have to go closer to your mic.
Oh, sorry. Does the senior discount apply to every property owned? Is it the primary property? Is it up to 350,000 between properties?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Payton, it's a new frontier for me as well to try and understand that. Assemblymember Dunn could help you.
The senior exemption is only for primary residents.
Okay.
And there are lots of sideboards and rules around it. So if a resident or somebody over 65 has two properties, they can't claim it on both. It has to be just on the primary residence. And they also need to live in the borough the equivalent amount of time that they would to claim a permanent fund dividend. So somebody that's gone for 9 months a year would not be able to claim a senior exemption.
Okay. I just wondering because it seems like we've had such an increase of younger families move to the community, but I suppose we won't see that increase till 2022, 23.
Or through the mayor, it could be that they're renting and they don't own the property.
Maybe.
There are a variety of factors, but something I wanted to make sure, because I didn't verbally address it, but it is in the memo, is that if council wants, you can delay this resolution and it can come back before you again at your June 14th meeting, because will still meet the borough's timeline of setting a mill rate before June 15th, or you can adopt it as is, but it has to occur either at this meeting or the next meeting.
Okay, thank you, Rachel, for clarifying that. Okay, any other questions or comments from council before we go to the public? Okay, hearing none. Heidi, we'll go to the public. Do we have any hands or anyone on that wants to comment?
I'm not seeing any hands raised at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, sounds good. That'll go ahead and take resolution 21-33 back to council for final action or disposition.
you're looking for a motion on this?
Yep, so we'll be looking for motion to either as it is written in the resolution to keep it at 7.5 mils, or the other option, if you thought there was enough support to do something down the road to table this till the next meeting. So a couple different options.
I'm
I'm
Go
for
ahead.
waiting for the next meeting.
I was going to say I would support that as well. For one thing, I hadn't been able to download this stupid packet this time again. So I don't have anything in front of me. I'd be in favor of tabling this.
All right, well, that's two of you and there's only four of us, so it's pretty straight, or four council members tonight. So if someone wants to make a motion to table it to the June 14th meeting, then we can do that.
I'll make a motion to table this until June 14th meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of tabling the vote on resolution 21-33 till the June 14th meeting, all in favor, Peyton,
Aye.
Nathan,
Aye.
Wet,
Aye.
Colberg.
Aye.
A motion to table resolution 21-33 to June 14th is passed. So we will bring that up. That'll be on our next council meeting as well. And we will have to adopt something at that time. So we'll go ahead and take a short 10-minute break here, and then we'll come back and finish up for the second half of the meeting. We'll go ahead and stand in recess. George, you might want to mute yourself during the break.
Okay.
Jeremiah.
Yep.
Yeah, Tom and Tammy said to say hi.
Oh, okay. Were they in Soldovia today?
Yeah,
Oh,
they're
good.
leaving already.
Oh, okay. All right, we have everybody back in the room.
I'm back.
All right. Okay, if we're ready to get started again here. We'll go ahead and come back to order. Continuing our regular city council meeting. We are going to go to item K4, which is a resolution 21-34, resolution of the city council of the city of Soldovia authorizing acceptance of a state of Alaska Department of Public Safety contract for special services. This is found on page 148 of your packet. We'll go ahead and have staff give a quick overview.
Thank you, Mayor. So this resolution before council is for the acceptance of the public safety contract for special services from Alaska Department of Public Safety. The city of Soldovia is positioned to receive the same amount that we received last year, which was $20,000, and it's paid in installments throughout the year, $5,000 installments. And in addition to contributing $20,000 to the city's general fund for public safety services, the department is also providing the city with access to Alaska Records Management System, which is also known as ARMS, and traffic and criminal software program, which is called TRAX. And those are really beneficial pieces of software because they're connected to law enforcement agencies across the state of Alaska. So if there was ever an issue that Chief Hawkins was working on, Homer Police Department could pull up the files and information concerning a case. Same thing with Alaska State Troopers. So they are very supportive of the city of Soldovia getting on board and will provide that software in kind to the city. However, we still need to work on securing either grant funds or paying outright for a laptop that would support the software programs that those two software programs from the state. So that's something that myself and the finance officer are still working on. And also included is the FY21 contract, just so council could see a comparison in that nothing has really changed other than the offering of arms and tracks from the Alaska Department of Public Safety. And a note on this topic, we got feedback from the state that the city of Soldovia had not been following the terms of our contract last year. And so Chief Hawkins has already been establishing a very proactive relationship with the troopers to ensure that we are in line with the terms of our contract and not acting outside the bounds of that, because that was part of the justification the city of Soldovia tried to put before the state to justify additional funding. But because we broke the terms or didn't follow the terms of our contract, the state did not budge and just said, you need to stick within the bounds of the contract and we'll still issue you the same dollar amount. So I just wanted to put that before council that Chief Hawkins and myself are working with the troopers, and we'll continue to improve and strengthen our relationship with them to ensure public safety and welfare for the greater Soldovia area and the city of Soldovia.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and take it over to council for discussion. Questions, comments on resolution 21-34.
Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, John.
Yeah, I still have never gotten the answer to my big questions concerning jurisdictions. Our jurisdiction ends at our city limit. And I've never seen or heard of anything where when Chief Hawkins is working on a case outside of the city, is that covered by the state troopers? Or is Chief Hawkins operating on the city, which would be illegal? And I've never been given an answer to that in my tenure on the council. Thank you.
Thank you, John. So just a quick comment on that. I mean, so what we have before us is the same thing every year. Alaska Department of Public Safety contract for special services. I mean, this effectively, I mean, are you, maybe John, what you're referring to is something along the lines of a mutual aid agreement? I mean, I don't know if this is necessarily a mutual aid agreement. I don't think it is. I mean, if this specifically only goes one direction, that's us going out to do stuff out in the trooper territory, our troopers jurisdiction. But then I think also to elaborate, Rachel, what you said in terms of the state said we weren't abiding by the conditions of the agreement. And we have a little more explanation on that. And I think I know where it's going in terms of us probably possibly overstepping.
Mayor, I would have to pull up that memo. It's been a few months since I've looked at it, and it was originally penned to the former city manager, and in regards to, I believe, Chief Cushman's services that he provided. And I can give that feedback to you at the next council meeting, but I think it is because we probably went over and beyond the services, or didn't give cases to the troopers that fell within their jurisdiction. You know, we just wanted to ensure public safety, but that put us in a bind with our contract, the restrictions of the contract.
Yeah, and I would agree. And I remember we had this discussion too when Chief Cushman had talked about this as well. You know, you feel an obligation if there's something serious going on, you know, or do you just say, sorry, call the troopers? Well, yeah, that doesn't go so well if something serious is going on. I don't know. I mean, we could go on and on about this. I don't know if this is the right time or not. I mean, can Chief Hawkins give any kind of explanation or any more insight on what you've learned in talking with the troopers, Clayne?
Yeah, thank you. Really, it's just pretty much what you're saying is we've just done the reports in the past, and we've been handling the calls out there and not informing them or even deferring the calls to them, which is what in the past contract we've had. There are certain calls that they've asked us to defer to them. And with us being here, and this is, I can't answer to the previous chief, but we just were obviously just taking the calls, and that violated the contract. They actually do want us to defer some of the calls to them. So we're trying to work with them so that we can handle it the most appropriate way, yet also providing the best service we can for everyone. So it's just hard we're trying to make everyone happy, and we're just working through that right now. That's kind of what we're doing.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, I understand that puts you in a tough position too, because you have friends, you have neighbors. I mean, we have other, I know they're not, textbook resident of the city of Soldovia where we pay our police chief to enforce. But at the same token, we try to be responsive, and obviously that sometimes probably takes us outside the scope of our contract. So yeah, I know you got your work cut out for you to get that straightened out. So I can appreciate the work you'll have in front of you guys to work on that. So, all right, any other questions or comments from
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead, John.
Yeah, that's my concern. The way I see it, the only time Clayne should be going out there, all calls should go through 911 and the troopers. If we're just answering calls out there, where the city is liable for anything that goes on. And my point is all calls should go through the troopers. And when Clayne crosses the city limits heading out the road, the liability should be on the troopers and not on the city of Soldovia. Our jurisdiction ceases at the city limits. And if we operate outside the city limits, we're breaking the law. It's just that simple. And I would love to be able to just deal with stuff like that, but we put the city in severe danger financially by breaking the rules and doing things we're not supposed to be doing. For me, it's the liability standpoint. And that question is, like I said, has not been answered. I would love it to be able to just do it, but you turn around and $20 million later, what are you going to do? We're not set up to handle massive amounts of money in lawsuits because we're breaking the law. And it's outside of our jurisdiction. And everything done outside of our jurisdiction should be on the state troopers. We cannot enforce the law outside of our city limits. And that's just the way it is. And it's not negotiable. And you would have to ask the lawyer that. It's not negotiable. You've already lost before you even go in court. So that's something to think about. It's not very nice, but that's the truth. Our jurisdiction ends at the city limits. So I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. And that's something I will not back down from. We cannot enforce the law out there. It has to be done through the troopers. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Yep, go ahead, George.
Yeah, I'm not entirely familiar with Alaska statutes, but I would be surprised if there was not a clause in there about deputizing or some way for the troopers to pass their authority on to us. Now, it doesn't appear that that's been done in the past, and it has cost us. We had, as we all know, an incident in the past that was right down this road. I think we need to take a real hard look at this agreement with the troopers, and at the very minimum, the agreement needs to be fleshed out in a lot of areas. One of them is just what John's talking about, jurisdiction. I'm in agreement with him. If the troopers contract us to handle calls outside our city limits, which they do, then they have got to take our law enforcement officer under their system. They've got to stand the liability for him, and he has to have the authority of a state trooper. And this is all doable by contract. It certainly can be done. It should have been done. It's kind of amazing that we don't have a solid document that we can refer to as just what we can do and what we can't do. I think that anytime that our officer, our chief responds outside of our city limits at the request of the troopers, it should be exactly as John said, should go through 911, and the 911 would first give the call to the troopers, and then they can do what they want to do with it. If they want to respond, fine. If they want to pass it on to us, that's fine too. But we have to be able to operate under color of their authority, and under the blanket of their legal authority and legal protection. I'm not in favor of just going down the road that we've been down every year. I know 20 grand is hard to give it up, but I don't think it's safe for us to continue in the way we've been.
Mayor, if I may.
Okay, thank you, George. Yep, go ahead.
If council would go to page 152 of your packet, you'll see in this contract, as well as the FY21 contract, clause 2, the city will provide services in the greater Soldovia region that would otherwise normally be performed by department personnel. So essentially by the city accepting the contract and the terms and receiving the $20,000, we are christened, if you would, with the department's blessing to perform services that are defined in that clause that the troopers normally would provide to the greater Soldovia area. And the ones that we can't do, or that should be referred to the troopers after the fact, you'll see that in clause 2C, non-domestic violence, property crimes, and crimes such as theft, burglary, and criminal mischief reported after the fact will be referred to the troopers to investigate. So by us signing on to this contract, we are ordained or christened by the troopers to perform services they normally would. We are, however, held to our own insurance for our police chief. And so if an instance were to occur because the state does not indemnify us or hold us harmless in this contract, we carry our own insurance with AML-GIA, which costs the city for FY22 over $10,000 to have police liability. That cost is 100% on us, and the liability for having a police chief provide services within city limits or the greater Soldovia area falls on our insurance and not the troopers. So I just wanted to make sure that both Councilmember Nathan and Kohlberg saw that we do have the department's blessing for the majority of services to do that in the greater Soldovia area.
Oh, okay, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, John. Thank you, Rachel.
I would love to hear from legal how it is that a city can enforce or be liable, carry the liability outside of their jurisdiction. Our jurisdiction ends at the city limits. And
I think it'd be real similar to Jackaloff though, John, you know, if you start thinking about it. I mean, it's, yeah, this is kind of an interesting scenario that we have a 2-page document and it's always been this way, but there's not a single mention. I mean, there's nothing. It doesn't even mention in here at all about liability, indemnification. Sorry.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah. And
I would love to hear from legal. I would love to hear from legal on this matter, because for me, that's like saying the city of Homer can come into the city of Soldovia and enforce Soldovia or Homer law. It doesn't work.
At Soldovia's invitation.
Your jurisdiction ends at your city limits. And
I think, yeah, I mean, the state obviously has some, I mean, we're contracting with the state, and the state obviously has some provisions. They do this all over the state.
yeah, but they leave you hanging with the liability.
Yeah, no, I think that's a true statement. I think that's a true statement. For what we do, we are accepting for $20,000, we are accepting a huge risk on the liability. There's no question about that. And I don't know if through AML-GIA, when they look at our liability insurance portion with for the police department, you know, if the expanded coverage area is taken into account as part of that rate structure, or if it's just the fact that, you know, we have a full-time police chief in general.
Yeah, and you know, when part of that contract was they have to get the trooper training. So the way I've always thought of it is when they go outside the city, they're working for the troopers. They're inside the city, they're working for the city. And that being the city being liable for the state stuff doesn't cut it with me. There's no amount of money they can give us that'll make it worth it. You know, I'm sorry, that's just my view on it. It would be nice, but we can't afford it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. Any other questions or comments before we go to the public?
Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead.
can I just ask really quick? I mean, it seems like our time frame is about to run out for whether or not we're going to decide to sign this, but why haven't we just put this in the village court and let them pursue a VPO? Like, I feel like this has come up for discussion previously. And I know that our contract with the troopers prohibits them being able to pursue having a VPO out there. If we are taking on the entire fiscal responsibility of policing from the end of Anderson Way all the way to the end of Jackaloff Bay, $20,000 doesn't cover the man hours, never mind the gas. Why are we assuming that fiscal responsibility if it's something that everybody here is frustrated with?
Yeah, so this is that's a great question, and that is also, this is a prime example of what we're going to be faced with going forward, right? So now if we give up the $20,000 in revenue, obviously that's going to be a problem on the budget side. Now we have to go back and look, okay, what can we do to counteract that? That's a whole nother discussion. But you're right. This was brought up last year because SVT came in and they opposed this in writing. Instead of, it did prohibit their efforts from wanting to hire a VPSO. And I mean, I thought at the time, for me, it would be great to have a VPSO with a mutual aid agreement. So it was the same thing. If something happened in town, and our chief needed, given that we're off the road system and our chief needed backup, there was someone from out the road that could help. And then the same way it goes for our chief helping out there. Again, even on a mutual, they're kind of getting intertwined because on a mutual aid agreement, it's probably the same thing. The liability might not pass, with the area you're going into. So, but there's definitely some work, unfortunately, so we've got a couple options. This this has to be passed by June 30th, correct? Yeah, so our current agreement is in force until June 30th. So we have basically 2 more opportunities to do something with this if nothing is going to happen tonight. So is that, Rachel, is that correct? Is that a correct statement?
Yes, we have to renegotiate the contract before June 30th of this year. And the council could defer this passage till a future meeting. The budget is balanced with it. So the FY22 budget does reflect $20,000 in revenue coming through to help offset the general fund. And so we could always amend the budget if this doesn't pass at a future meeting. But this was something I was intending to bring before council at future meetings. And I definitely will follow up with DPS as a result of council's feedback to ask them about indemnification language based on services that are provided under this contract. And then reach out to SVT and see if there could be a possible partnership there in the future. But of course, that can't happen for probably a few more weeks or months to get all the research together and a response from DPS.
Okay. All right. Well, I think, let's go ahead and, from what I'm hearing there's only 4 people tonight. I know if we're going to do something different with this, it would be nice to have a full council so that we had all 6 people talking about it and in the loop. And I think if this did get tabled to the next meeting, we get an update. We have 2 opportunities to either pass it or vote it down prior to the contract expiration on June 30th. But I think we could get a lot more answers between now and then if we worked on that. So I think what we do is let's go to public presentation, see if there's anyone from the public, and then we can bring it back. And if we need to table it till the next meeting, we can do that. Anyone from the public, Heidi?
I'm not seeing any hands raised from the public at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, no one from the public is there to weigh in. So that'll bring resolution 21-34 back to council for action. What do you want to do?
I'll make a motion that we table this till the next council meeting. And hopefully we'll have some answers from legal and other stuff. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion to table this till the June 14th meeting. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Colberg, second by Nathan, to table resolution 21-34 to the June 14th meeting with the city manager going to work on providing some additional information at that time. All those in favor of the motion, Peyton,
Aye.
Nathan,
Aye.
Sweat,
Nay.
Colberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 4-0. Okay, so that'll be tabled till the next meeting.
I'm sorry,
I said no.
Mr. Mayor. I believe that motion failed.
Okay, was that a nay or was that an A? I thought that was an A.
That was a nay.
So that was a no.
So no,
Yes.
no to tabling till the next meeting. Or to postponing, I should say. No to postponing until the next meeting.
I have a comment.
Okay, go ahead with your comment.
Okay, so it seems like we go through this every year when this contract comes up. So my suggestion is, which I was trying to say, but I didn't get a chance to, is we should accept it this year. It's already in our budget, so we don't have to amend our budget again. And then in the future, like in the next few months, not in the next couple of weeks, since we have a lot of stuff on our plate, we should put this as an agenda item and discuss it in detail with more information. And then come to some kind of agreement at that time, whether we want to continue with this contract or not. I don't think we should make a rush decision.
Okay, so I'm going to explain a little bit about parliamentary procedure here. What you always want to do is make sure you're counting your votes before you do something like that. Now, it would have been nice to have had that before the vote. So now it's going to get real messy here, because now it's going to go back. The motion is still on the table. Now that it just got voted to not be tabled to the next meeting. So we better hope we have 4 votes to pass it, or the $20,000 is down the drain tonight. Unless somebody wants to make another motion, or a motion to reconsider will have to happen.
I move that we reconsider the move to table this.
So,
And I would say in addition to that, I'm not going to support a vote on this. I would vote no on a vote on this tonight.
Okay, so point of order here. If we're going to do a motion to reconsider, this is where my parliamentary procedure gets a little, so you have to be on the non-prevailing, you have to be on the prevailing side of this. This is kind of an interesting one, so it got voted down. So the prevailing vote here would have been Sweat. So is it the case that Sweat would have to make the motion here? I know this is kind of backwards here.
I believe that's the case, Mr. Mayor, but I am trying to rapidly research it right this moment, because she would be the one that would have to change her decision, her vote. So
Correct.
I think she would have to be the one that would have to reconsider.
That's the way I understand it.
The other option is it could just go, if there isn't a consensus from the council and there isn't an agreed upon motion or vote, it could die on the table and then be brought back up at the next meeting.
Okay, well,
So
so we had
one more comment, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, George.
What we're asking for is exactly what I think Bobby wants, and that's a little more time to think about this.
That would be correct. So, Councilmember Sweat, would you agree that that's what we're trying to do here? Because there's not enough votes to pass this tonight. You don't have 3 other people to pass this.
Could you repeat that, please?
Okay, so you understand what George just said. That's what the council is trying to do, is to gather more information for the next couple, over the next couple meetings, to either pass this or not pass this. Your motion, what you're doing now is forcing everyone's hand, and you're forcing a vote. And unfortunately, you don't have the votes to get this passed tonight. You need 3 other people, and there's only 4 of you. And 2 of them have already said they're not going to support it.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead.
So if I may, and I wasn't sure how to touch on this earlier when it was brought up in the previous motion to table. But if we're following Robert's rules as to the T, being sticky with Robert's rules, actually what had just occurred for tabling, if you're tabling a motion, or if you're tabling an item on the agenda or a discussion, a motion to table is to bring that back up until the next, in that same meeting. If you table an item, you're putting it off to later in that meeting to bring back up.
Yes, it
So
should
that's
be
why I said,
postponed.
that's why I had said to postpone previously when I was discussing it, because if you are moving it to another meeting, then you are postponing it until that date that you're moving it. So already we have a little mix up and confusion with the motions, but it can be reconsidered by, and it could be reconsidered by Ms. Sweat, yes, if she wanted to change her vote.
Okay, so for point of order, yes, we basically screwed this up. It should not have been tabled. It should have been postponed. So to clean this up, what we need to do, let's just start over. So what we need to do is we need to get the motion reconsidered so we can go back to the starting point. So if you want to, Councilmember Sweat, if you would make a motion to reconsider your nay vote, we can back this up and start all over again, including additional discussion.
Okay, so I want to reconsider my nay vote.
Yeah, you want to reconsider the vote to, yes, you want to basically reconsider your no vote for the tabling of resolution 21-34.
Okay, so I want to reconsider my no vote on the tabling of resolution 21-34.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Don't we want to say reconsider a vote on postponing this, not tabling it?
Well, I think we have to go back. Can we do that, Heidi, or do we just have to go back and start over?
I think we just had a
I'm
case
sorry,
of
Mr.
using the
Mayor.
wrong word. No one ever intended to bring it back up tonight.
Well, yeah, correct. Well, so we have 2 things. So we have the no vote just in general, and then we have the wrong wording on the motion.
Right. It should be a postpone until the time, with a time specified.
Okay.
But- So you could just rescind the whole motion
That's what I'm looking to do.
since it's not the right one.
Correct.
So That would probably be the cleanest, is to
Yep.
rescind.
So if we move to reconsider, then we'll go back to the main motion, then we can correct, the main motion will be back on the table, and then we can do a point of order, and if we can fix, we can fit you or amend, and we can.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I don't even think you want to reconsider. I think you want to rescind. You want to rescind the motion. You're going to cancel the motion altogether because it wasn't correct.
Okay, so either side can do that, correct?
Let me double check.
I believe that's the case. I think when you're going to rescind, I think due to a point of order, I think either side can do that. It probably doesn't even go that deep. Maybe it does.
Yes. Yep. I'm not saying that it requires either side, and it can be reconsidered if it fails. So just like now, this discussion, reconsidering it, if the rescind failed, it could also be reconsidered.
Yes, I think you're right. The more appropriate action here would be, since we didn't use the right language for the motion, is just to rescind it altogether. So if we could get a motion to rescind resolution, the adoption of resolution 21-34, and then we can get back to the discussion.
So I need to make a motion to rescind my motion to postpone
The table.
resolution,
Yeah.
the table,
Yep.
then tabling motion, resolution 21-34.
Yep, correct.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion in front of us is to now rescind the motion that Mr. Kohlberg made to table resolution 21-34. All those in favor, Peyton,
Aye.
Nathan,
Aye.
Sweat,
Aye.
Kohlberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion to table is rescinded, which now takes us back to the main motion to adopt resolution 21-34. We had the motion to adopt, we had a second, we went through discussion, and so that will bring us now back
Oh,
to,
Mr. Mayor,
yep, go
in
ahead.
order, there was not a main motion on the table yet, I don't believe.
Yeah, we should have had a main,
Nope,
we not
it was
do-
just the, nope, it was just the motion to table.
well, that's what happens here after a couple good
So-
hours.
So,
Technically, we could just let it die on the table and it'll come up on the next meeting.
Well, yeah, so at this point, there's no motion at all. So if we want to we can either have a motion to postpone until the next meeting, or we can take no action. The appropriate thing would be to have a motion to postpone it until the next meeting when we can gather more information and have all 6 council members present.
I move we postpone the vote on this motion until the next meeting.
I'll
we have-
second.
Okay, we have a motion from Nathan to postpone resolution 21-34 until the June 14th meeting. Second by Kohlberg. All those in favor, Peyton,
Aye.
Nathan,
You're supposed to
Aye.
vote.
Sweat,
Aye.
Kohlberg.
Aye.
Okay, resolution 21-34 is postponed till the next meeting, at which time the city manager will bring us back additional information to help us make a more informed decision. That was painful, but thank you everyone for getting through that. Item L, unfinished business, none. Item M, new business. Item M1, letter concerning the proposed changes to the Kachemak Bay State Park Management Plan regarding the Tutka Bay Lagoon Hatchery. This will be found on page 155 of your packet. And if we could have a presentation by staff.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll try to make this short and sweet. So there was a proposal as part of the Kachemak Bay State Parks update of their management plan to remove the Tutka Bay Hatchery as an allowable or permittable activity and use of state parkland. And so they're included in your packet is a lot of commentary from the public because there was a House bill introduced by Representative Vance, House Bill 52, that would allow the Tutka Bay Hatchery to be a permittable use. And Homer City Council has passed a couple pieces of legislation on this topic, and Soldovian, Mr. Scott Ogan brought this forward as a topic that council should consider. And before you is a letter drafted that would be signed by the mayor, just seeking more information from the governor, our local delegation, Representative Stutz and Senator Stevens, as well as Director Geese. He's the director of the Division of Parks and Outdoor Recreation, as well as the superintendent of the park, Blackwell, asking for more information. And it kind of reiterates some of the points that Homer City Council made. They need more information to evaluate impacts of the fishery within the park. The topic gets a little muddied, and I'm still trying to understand it myself, that basically if this was to be an allowable use, it would possibly reduce the size of the park. And so the state, in addition to allowing the hatchery to be a permittable use, has come up with, or Representative Vance has come up with, other areas of land that could be designated as parkland so that it would make up for the hatchery being within the park. So it's a letter drafted to the governor as well as other delegation, just asking for more information so that Seldovia City Council could make a more informed stance on the Tutka Bay Hatchery being allowed to continue within the park. And you can amend it however you see fit. It's just drafted for your consideration after a constituent brought it as a topic that council should consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. And yeah, I appreciate you guys bringing this and Scott bringing this to our attention. I know the hatchery, for some folks is controversial. Other folks, if you're a commercial fisherman, you're probably it's probably helping you make a living. So, and then for a lot of folks that like to sport fish, it also provides additional recreational opportunity to go over to the lagoon and catch a bunch of fish. So it's basically now getting to the point of understanding its cohesiveness with operating a hatchery inside of a state park. So I'll go ahead and stop there, and then we'll go ahead and bring it to council discussion. Any questions, comments on the draft letter?
Mr. Mayor. Oh, go ahead, George.
Yeah, go ahead, George.
This hatchery's been in Tutka for years, has it not?
It has.
And what is the major complaint about just the fact that it's using some of the land?
An environmental concern for the parties who are most vocally against it.
What environmental concerns?
That's a long list for the people who are concerned.
What's the top of the list?
Well,
What are we
so
talking?
like the top of the list is the fact that you have, industrial infrastructure in the middle of a state park, which is otherwise, it's pretty pristine. It's really beautiful. There's, that includes, fuel and waste. And then there's the fact that a hatchery is supplemental fish run to what is otherwise a much smaller natural run, which means that, if you're arguing as an environmentalist that by by putting fish there that would not otherwise be sustained by the environment itself, you are creating a fight for resources between the natural run, which is much smaller, and the hatchery run, which is obviously much larger. So those are some of the, the big concerns that, and there's the traffic with the big boats and the hatchery being there itself, it's a laundry list of things. Essentially, it's just an industrial bit of infrastructure in the middle of a state park.
So what's the total footprint of this hatchery? An
It's not
acre?
very big.
Yeah, maybe a half an acre.
I mean, no, because the physical structure of the hatchery and the surrounding buildings that house the employees doesn't encompass so much, but the net pens take up quite a bit, and I'm not sure where we currently have those net pens, if they're back in the lagoon or if they're still out in the actual bay. But there was also the argument that they were considered an eyesore. So, I mean, those are the types of arguments against it. The arguments for a hatchery are all the things like the mayor just listed. It brings financial opportunity for commercial fishermen. It brings financial opportunity for people who are chartering. It's a draw for people who are hiking. And my family goes out. We'll be going out next weekend to look at what the trail looks like. We go out every week from June 1st to the end of July. There's a lot of locals who participate in that run as directly fed by the hatchery. So the biggest arguments in support for that hatchery are economic, really.
Mayor, if
Well,
I may.
if you consider the size and footprint of the thing in the grand scheme of things, like how many square miles are we talking about for the whole park? And you got
Right.
one little corner over here that's a hatchery. This whole thing seems ridiculous to me.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's not about like the physical, it's not about the physical structure. It's about the ripple effect of changing the environment by taking and adding that type of biological impact. I mean, I don't know if you've ever smelt a moored barge, but it's a lot. There's a lot of potential impact.
It obviously hasn't supplanted the natural run yet. That hatchery's been there since I've been in Alaska. So it's been there at least 30 years. We still have a natural run there. So that kind of puts a dent in their theory about them competing for resources with the natural fish.
I think, if I may, the how this came about, and then when certain groups, that opposed the hatchery got involved, and they went back and they found that basically, I'm just reading at the sponsor statement from House Bill 52, just to kind of sum this up. It says there are currently two legal issues with the Tutka Bay hatchery within the Kachemak Bay State Park. One, the hatchery constitutes an unconstitutional disposal of legislatively designated lands. And item two, because the hatchery constitutes a disposal of legislatively designated lands, it requires an LWCF, which is a Land and Water Conservation Fund, conversion to cure the disposal. A conversion includes finding alternate lands that can be added to Kachemak State Park and thus replace the state park lands lost by the hatchery. So, so that's what they're trying to do. House Bill 52 is trying to figure out a workaround to basically save the hatchery. The only thing before us tonight is the draft letter basically encourages the state to continue to work forward to looking at all the different options with Department of Outdoor Recreation, and Fish and Game, all the cooking and aquaculture, all the parties to try to see what they can do to work through a solution on this. I don't know where it sits in the legislature in terms of support, for it or not, but I imagine the commercial fishing industries will probably lobby heavy to continue this, whereas maybe your environmental groups will lobby heavily in the exact opposite direction. So I don't think we need to, go too crazy debate, all the intricacies of this. I think we're just looking for some support tonight on this letter to continue the discussions and see if they can work towards a resolution. And I'm sure there'll be much more for this to come when House Bill 52 actually reaches the draft is in here, but after it goes through any amendments or the rest of the process here.
Yeah.
So,
Mr. Mayor.
yep, go ahead, John.
Yeah, this is a good one. I'll start with this and then I'll finish up here. If you took the state of Alaska, the entire state lands, and put it up against the wall, and then systematically removed every state park and every federal park and the marine parks, which were put in by Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, there would be no state waters. It's all park. It's federal park. Everything, including the harbor, is a marine wildlife refuge, a park. You take away all the lands, take away the native lands, and you have roughly 3% of the state of Alaska for the people to live on. This deal with the environmentalists saying, oh, it's doing all this damage and you're bringing in fish that don't belong. Look at what we're doing with the king salmon in the slough. It's the same thing. It all comes down to there's a group of people who own lodges and stuff in there, and they do not want commercial boats going in there back and forth and doing all the other stuff. The same way with them getting rid of jet skis because they're too noisy, but they can stand the ear-splitting propeller sound coming from float planes, which is a lot louder than a jet ski. They want the bay empty and peaceful so they can enjoy their life. And I really am not a big fan of the hatchery because it's turning into the commercial fishermen aren't getting that much of it. They're trying to get it all for themselves, and they have been for years, but it will be interesting. I would like to see how it goes through this House and the Senate. It all comes down to, if you break it down and look what some of the stuff Harmony said, you can apply to our stocking of salmon in a humpy creek is where the scent ball is. So it's about taking more land and making it more park. There is zero land available to become park. It's already all park. In fact, the water in your harbor is a park. And the water in that lagoon is a park, and it's under the control of NOAA. They have more authority over it than the state of Alaska does. So it will be interesting what does happen. But I've heard from people with cabins, building lodges and doing all that stuff in there. They don't appreciate commercial fishermen operating out in front of them because they're sport fishermen and their clients don't like it. So we'll see how it goes. But as far as parks go, I'm not a big fan of the park. And the hatchery, where the fish pens and everything else are not part of a park. The state of Alaskan parks are on land. That park ends at where the water starts, high mean tide. So it's kind of goofy how they're going to rule it and do it. But in my point of view is we have enough parks. You look out at the side of our mountain and it's a park. So everything is a park around you. We're just basically living in a zoo. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. Any other questions, comments on the proposed letter? Okay, Heidi, anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this issue?
I'm not seeing any hands raised at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, that'll bring it back to council for further action. And I guess what we're looking for is either objection to us submitting the letter or a motion in the, which would be more appropriate in the affirmative, to go ahead and submit the letter to the governor's office and everyone listed on the first 5 lines, which is basically the governor, Division of Parks and Outdoor Recreation, Representative Stutes, Senator Stevens, and then Ricky Geese and Jack Blackwell. And it basically just to summarize, it states to encourage more information gathering so that the two can become compatible and see if they can work through the process.
So you're looking for a motion? Or can we just instruct the city manager to write a letter? What are we doing here?
The letter's already written. If we just make a motion to go ahead and submit this letter as drafted, that's all we need.
I'll make a motion that we submit the letter as drafted.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to submit the draft letter as written regarding the changes to Kachemak Bay State Park Management Plan regarding the Tutka Bay Lagoon Hatchery. That motion was by Colbert, second by Nathan. All those in favor, Peyton.
Aye.
Nathan.
Aye.
Sweat.
Aye.
Colberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. If the city manager would go ahead and we'll submit that letter, I'll sign that and then we can get it sent off. Item M2, discussion concerning City of Soldovia COVID-19 mitigation practices. This will be found on page 202 of your packet. And it's got Councilmember Nathan's name by it. If the city wants to go ahead and the administration wants to give us a quick overview, and then we can let George speak.
Thank you, Mayor. So Councilmember Nathan wanted to discuss the City of Soldovia's COVID-19 response and mitigation efforts. And so I definitely don't want to steal his thunder. Him putting this on the agenda was actually really well timed because it was just before the CDC relaxed COVID-19 protocols for fully vaccinated individuals. And as a result of that relaxation of COVID-19, safe COVID-19 practices for vaccinated individuals, I drafted the following memo to ask for council to support my determination that the city's messaging will be updated to state the City of Soldovia is following CDC and State of Alaska guidelines and will not be asking staff or the public to mask or socially distance or quarantine if they are fully vaccinated as defined by the CDC. The city will not be asking for proof of vaccination. Non-vaccinated individuals are strongly encouraged to follow CDC and State of Alaska guidelines such as mask wearing and social distancing. City staff will accommodate an individual's preferences depending on the individual's level of comfort to ensure access to city resources. The city asks that the public accommodate city staff's level of comfort to ensure we can best serve you. So I had a chance to speak with our city attorney about this. He said that we're in the clear and that municipalities across the state are relaxing their COVID-19 mitigation and response practices when it comes to serving the public and keeping staff safe as a result of the CDC's updated guidelines. So I made that determination, and then while it's not a formal recommendation that I'm seeking from council, I ask for your support of the city of Seldovia no longer requiring masks or social distancing in public facilities, and that the city will continue to follow CDC and state of Alaska guidelines. And then in regards to our emergency declaration, we are not 100% certain whether ending our disaster declaration would prohibit us from receiving funding for COVID-19 measures. So other cities are not terminating their disaster declaration before it's set to expire. They're leaving it as long as possible from the original date that their disaster declarations were set. So when I met with city managers last Monday, the city of Kenai and city of Soldotna were hesitant to think through, at least the city managers were hesitant to think through ending the declaration and couldn't tell their council whether or not that would preclude the city from receiving additional funds. So for the time being, and especially talking with our city attorney, it's advised that we keep it in place. Ours is set to expire June 30th. And that's all I have for comment.
Thank you, Rachel. We'll go ahead and bring it over to council, and I'll start off with Mr. Nathan. If you have any comments you'd like to make.
Yeah, the reason I asked this to be revisited on this date was to hopefully see restrictions reduced, which they have been, and in order to give the folks planning 4th of July activities some good news in time for them to do something about it. I think we're right on track with that. The fact that we still have a disaster declaration in place does not limit us to our mitigation plans. I assume, Rachel, is that correct? As long as we're following CDC guidelines, doesn't matter if we have a disaster declaration in place or not, correct?
So we don't have to have a disaster declaration in place. Council could end the declaration, but still maintain the city's emergency operations center and COVID response. You could keep the disaster declaration in place and relax other COVID-19 practices. So I don't think it's of significant consequence either way, Councilmember Nathan.
We might as well just let it die on its die date. It would be my opinion, and I think that you've done all the research, and the situation has evolved to the point where we hoped it would be. And how many people did we get vaccinated on the when the public health nurses came by? They told me they knew about 8. That was in the morning. So did we get a few more?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Nathan, I don't know the exact number, but I have a memo from SVT's Laurel Hiltz that I can include in your next packet, where SVT stated as of May 21st, they've administered 246 complete vaccinations for patients in the Seldovia area. If I had to take a guess with public health nurses, it's most likely in that range you mentioned, 8 to 15 on the high end. So there's been a significant amount of vaccination in Seldovia.
And in addition to the raw numbers, we've made the effort. We've provided a system, or at least been part of a system that offered vaccinations to anybody who wanted them, and encouraged people to take the vaccinations. I think we're properly exercising our responsibilities here. I am in complete support of your letter to relax the mitigation methods as you have described.
Thank you, George. Any other questions, comments regarding the COVID-19 mitigation practices?
Yeah, this is John. It's nice to see our vaccination numbers are fairly high. And I would agree with George with the route the city's taking. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. Anyone else? Okay, we'll go ahead. Any one from the public, Heidi, that wishes to comment on this?
I'm not seeing any hands raised at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I'll bring it back to council, and I think we're just looking for a motion to support what the city manager has laid out for us in terms of relaxing the COVID-19 mitigation practices per the CDC recommendations.
I'd make a motion that we support the recommendations of the city manager for our COVID mitigation practices.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Okay, we have a motion to support the city manager's memorandum in regards to COVID-19 mitigation. Motion by Nathan, second by Colberg. All those in favor, Peyton?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
What?
Aye.
Colberg?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 4-0. Appreciate the discussion on that. That'll take us to item N, city manager's report, and that is in the laydown package. And Rachel, if you want to give us just a quick overview, that'd be great.
Sure thing, Mayor. I will try to go through the high points of the manager's report. So the first section is just going over vaccination efforts and the governor's office. So the state is relaxing their COVID response by now having the Department of Health and Social Services host their joint incident command calls and do other events rather than having Homeland Security do that. SVT is now offering vaccinations to folks who are 12 years and above. And then the state of Alaska public health nurses and South Peninsula hospital nurses will be coming back to Seldovia on June 1st to offer the COVID vaccine. So there's more details on that. And this go around, they're going to be offering prizes for people who receive the vaccine. The state revolving loan fund, there's a memo that explains that the city of Seldovia did not receive the loan fund or the loan as suspected because of our best practices score. I encourage council to look through those enclosures to see the state's justification for why we didn't qualify this go around. And as a reminder, we applied for a revolving loan for our sewer lift station pumps. And because of our score, we did not qualify. There is a whole bunch of information regarding our insurance company and having a future discussion with council regarding AML-JIA. They're the Alaska Municipal League Joint Insurance Association, and they help us with auto, general, and property insurance coverage for the city. And our FY22 contribution or premium amount without a 3-year agreement in place is $102,000 as currently proposed. So at a future meeting with council, we'll be discussing possibly removing properties and city assets off of our insurance coverage to hopefully reduce that exorbitant amount. It's the cost of insuring public property, but it is very high. And as you know, the city budget needs some help and attention as to reduce expenses. So that might be something that we have to weigh out together at a future meeting. And then the topic of insurance has come up a lot lately as in regards to special events. The city's coverage right now of almost $102,000, that protects the city from liabilities of people using public property for events. And so it's in the city's best interest to at least have a waiver that indemnifies and holds harmless the city from applicants or members of the community using public property for events, what would be the golden standard, and our insurance company phrased it as the city of Soldovia growing up, would be to require attendees or organizations to provide insurance. And the reason why that is best management practice for the city is because if someone was hosting an event on public property and someone got injured without having an additional insurance policy in place, the city could ultimately be held responsible for that accident. And so then, of course, we have insurance coverage for that, but then it will make our premium go up the following year because we'll have additional claims. So all this to say, right now, since we don't have a special event policy in place, we need to work on that. It is to the city's best interest to have a special event policy and an application procedure, and to at minimum have a waiver if council does not want to require groups to provide insurance. So that is something that we need to continue speaking on. I have probably 4 special event applications that I've been holding off on because I wasn't sure of Soldovia City Council's stance on asking groups to provide insurance or at least sign a waiver. So I'll have to think through that while we work on a special event policy. We have Alaska Rural Water coming to Soldovia next week to help with many things. The state of Alaska DEC, they're also going to be coming to help work with our public works team on issues regarding our water and wastewater utility systems. KPED, I've asked them to come to Soldovia because they help businesses or people who want to start a business with various resources and training. And because now we have the harbor kiosks, it would be great to empower local community members to feel confident in leasing retail space. Our contract with the SOC is going to be coming before council at your next meeting. It's set to expire the end of this fiscal year, and there are a few changes, so that'll be brought before you for consideration. I've signed the FY21 audit contract with Altman and Rogers. It's SE $28,600, and that's based on the assumption that we're 100% ready for their visit. In the past, we haven't been, so it's cost us more. So I know that our finance officer and city clerk will help make that happen and being more prepared. Snagging in Soldovia, we got a response from DOT regarding limiting snagging on the bridge. I encourage you to read that. And in addition, we're going to have signs posted in the harbor asking folks not to snag. I've been working with SVT and have a draft letter of support for a grant that they're authoring that would help keep Soldovia's bears wild. So that's available for your review and any comments that you may have. Something that I would like to make happen is remove the trash cans out at Jackaloff. They are becoming defective at their mission of being wildlife safe trash enclosure. They're often stuffed beyond capacity, and our staff don't go out there regularly to empty those bins. And when they do, it's usually an overtime cost over the weekend for someone going to do that. So I would like to remove those trash cans and bring them within city limits because we can have a pack it in, pack it out mentality for Jackaloff Dock. So if council has any comments on that, I welcome them. Because I would like to make that happen within the coming weeks unless council thinks otherwise. And our slew lift station pump is actually still in need of some TLC. Our operator, Jordan Cameron, has sent 2 of our motors to an electrician in Anchorage to help rebuild them. So that way we can try to, instead of buy new pumps, replace critical components of the pumps to help save some money. So we have that in the works, and that is it. There's a lot of enclosures too for your consideration, and I'm sorry, the insurance one, I included way too many pages than I meant to. So yeah, a lot of really good information for anyone wanting to nerd out on the city of Soldovia the past couple of weeks.
All right, thank you, Rachel. Yeah, lots of good information. Any questions, comments from council regarding the city manager's report?
I have one.
Yep, go ahead.
Can we move the trash cans on Monday? They look bad. Yeah. Tuesday, Wednesday. Otherwise, it's a great report.
Yeah, I would echo. I'm definitely, I've commented before on the trash cans out there, and I think it's no different than the two that the state puts out in the long-term parking lot over there. Just so people can clean out their vehicles. To me, they're unneeded. All they do is attract bears and create more of a problem. I know the ones out of Jackaloff are bear proof, but usually they're stuck open about 90% of the time because people are trying to stuff like 6 trash bags into a 1 trash bag container. And then people just start setting trash there and leaving it. So yeah, same thing. The mentality, pack it in, pack it out, or don't leave any trash there is the best way to go.
I would agree.
Okay, any other questions or comments for the city manager regarding her report?
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, go ahead, George.
Yeah, Rachel, I think last meeting or possibly even the meeting before, I brought up a situation out at the airport where last year we had people walking and driving 4-wheelers and whatnot across the runway to get over to the slough to fish. Have we looked at some signage or maybe we need to talk to the state? Is there some way we can maybe stop that from happening? Or have we done anything with that? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Through the mayor, Councilmember Nathan, no, we haven't. That would be a commentary that you could submit to DOT since the city does not manage the airport.
Well, the airport is within the city, and if anything happens out there, our policemen would respond. But yeah, I'm sure we do have to negotiate with the state as far as putting some signing up.
Hey, George,
Yeah.
you might have a lot better luck if you talk to the FAA. It's their runway. It's operated by the state.
Actually, okay.
They can put an end to it in an instant.
All right, well, that one looks like it needs a little more attention or follow up on. Any other questions, comments for the city manager? Okay, Rachel, thank you for the report tonight. That will take us to item O, informational items not requiring action. We have none. Item P, executive session, none tonight. Item Q, council and mayor comments concerning items not on the agenda. We'll start off with Peyton.
Thank you for the thorough report. Being here for our back and forth. Appreciate that. And have a good vacation.
Okay, thank you. Nathan.
Yeah, I just appreciate the staff, city manager in particular. It's a good long meeting. Good night.
Thank you, George. Sweat.
Yeah, thank you to the staff as always for all your hard work. And thanks to Willie for coming and joining us and watching this council meeting.
Goldberg.
Yeah, I thank everybody for being involved in the meeting, Willie and ACS. I thank you, Rachel, for the thorough reports. Thank the staff for all your hard work. It's been an interesting meeting. Thank you.
All right, and I'll finish it up. Yep, thanks everyone. Thank you for the most of the good debate. A little bit of a mess that I'm sorry Willie had to witness. That was not good on our part. So I'm sure the assembly has a snafu every once in a while. They probably also have a full-time parliamentarian too. So appreciate all the hard work on the budget. I know we finally put that behind us. Still a long way to go throughout the year to get that work on. So and appreciate again Willie coming tonight and giving us the report from the borough. Next meeting will be held on June 14th, 2021 at 6 p.m. And final action tonight, motion to adjourn, please.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any objections? None heard. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks. Thanks.
Night all.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good night, everyone. Bye.